Hello and welcome back to another week of Sambo iRacing. We're back in the race form the Ford FF1600, this time at Circuit de Lédenon for yet another track guide. Now this is for the Thrustmaster Formula 1600 trophy, so it's an open setup, and because of that, if you wish to drive the exact setup I'm using here, you can go to our website being showcased in the bottom right hand side of the screen, or you can go to our Patreon site. There are links to both in the description, but you can remember sambosetups.com, and yeah. A lot of people have found them very, very useful. We've had some great feedback, and thanks for all the support, those of you that have joined our membership. Any questions, let me know in the comments, and as always, we're going to do a hot lap of breakdown, then we will be back in the cockpit one final time, the driving line on. Right, let's go. So here we are smashing it up the main straight, looking for these cones. Now we do a lift, we continue to lift, and we're just brushing the brake as we go through there. People brake too hard for this corner, and if you look there, I don't think I ever went above sort of 8 or 9%. Now smashing it back up, get over to the left hand side, keeping the right hand side of the car on the track. We brake quite hard down to first gear on the gas as fast as possible. Head over to the right hand side. That's tricky for the braking marker, we'll go through it in the breakdown lap, but again braking hard down to first gear, back on the gas. Some excellent sliding in this car. I really enjoyed this setup Gianni produced. It did take half a second off my fixed lap, and that was quite a good lap for me. Now on the brake, second to last, storm drain, back up, over to the right hand side. And we're going to try and go flat until we get to this first one. Now a little lift, now we get on the brakes, trying to brake straight as possible, not too hard, down to first gear, back on the gas. Cutting this corner over on the right hand side. I head back across the track, now braking hard for the final corner to about 70% in the air, down to first gear, back on the gas, take it back over to the left hand side to cut the track. You've got to keep your right hand tyres over the track. Very upset to get an off track there. And over and across the line we go in a 1:25.6. Right, breakdown lap coming up next. Right, so this is the breakdown lap. So we're going to start our turn in at these cones. And we're going to start lifting once we're midway across the track. So it's quite a large initial lift, but then it's almost like a reverse trailing off of the brake, if you see what I mean. But we're trailing off the throttle. And now we're just holding the brake at around 7-8%. We're wanting to get to here. Now I'm putting some more gas back on there because I don't need to be on the brakes right now. But once we get to this outside part, we're going to do another lift again to get the rear rotated. And again, just to make sure that the balance of the car, there's more weight over the front wheels. Again, I'm just holding sort of 2% on the brake. So it's not to slow it down, it's just to make sure the front's biting. I'm feathering the throttle a little bit until I get to here, and now I can go back to full throttle in just one moment. This is as far over to the left as you can be. Anything further over to the left, and you are getting an off track. But we can really cut this corner as well. So if you look, I've got my left-hand tyre on the white and red sort of part of the asphalt. So it's tricky for here as to the braking point, but if you look directly in front of the car, you see there is a sort of little elbow in the line, and that is my marker to start braking. So once I've gone through that, you see I briefly hit 90%, drop it down to second, drop it down to first, using a bit of engine braking, and now I get up to 100% over here. So really early on in the corner. Head over to the right hand side. Now this is tricky because I'm about to be braking sort of midway between where I am now and where the white line starts to bend across. There is nothing that is directly there. There should be a braking marker of some description there, but there isn't. You just have to get a feel for it. But that is what it's going to look like as soon as you sort of hit the brakes. And again, braking hard, trailing it off down to first gear, back on the gas. Exit nice and wide. Again, you can't go any further over to the right than I am here. Now cutting the corner over the top of the crest. And now we're just going to be doing a lift. And then a full lift. Now I drop it down to third. And I get back on the gas. So again, this is about as far over to the left-hand side as you can be. And my braking marker is going to be just before this second to last storm drain in front of us. So as you can see, I've just started going on the brake now. The storm drain's there. And again, I hit sort of 80%. quickly drop it down to first, getting back up to 100% nice and early on. You do just have to be very happy to slide it around here. So we go flat until we get to this apex, then we do a lift, then we go flat again, and now we're wanting to brake, but not overly hard. So if you anchor the brakes now, you're just going to lose the rear. So we're just lightly on the brakes, feathering the throttle, trying to get back up to 100% as early as possible. Right, and the braking marker is going to be, I'm going to be turning over to the right-hand side now, and basically as soon as I've done that and then straightened up the wheel, I'm going to be braking. So look, I'm nearly straight on the wheel. Now my wheel's straight, and this is when I brake in a straight line. Hold it down to first, back on the gas at the apex, or just ahead of it. And there we go, over and across the line, 125.6. So if you stick around, we'll do one final version with the driving line on without me talking. Fuck that code.